Hello everyone, welcome back to another wound up video. So as you can see in the title, we are going to be comparing two watches in very drastically different price points. We have my personal watch, the Omega Seamaster Professional here on the left side. This is a $4,400 retail priced watch. And here we have a Marc & Sons Diver Sport 2, which is a watch that I reviewed. If you watched that video, it's a couple videos back. Now this watch is also a diver and its retail price is $400, as you can see here. Now if you have watched TGV or the Urban Gentry's videos, you know that he does this style, and I have blatantly copied his style of comparing two watches, and I hope that's fine. TGV, if you're watching, please let me know if that's not okay by you, and I will change up my style of comparison. But this is what we are going to be doing now. This is my first watch comparison. But yeah, before we get into this though, I do have to show you guys what I am wearing today. Today I am wearing the C1 Morgan Classic Chronometer watch by Christopher Ward. It's a very simple watch, as you can see. It's a hand-wound chronometer by the British company Christopher Ward. It has one of the most beautiful display casebacks of any watches in this price point. Would you just look at that? That is so beautiful. And this watch is cheaper than this Omega here, so that is very cool. Just look at how this winds when I... Wow. Now let's refocus on the task at hand, which is comparing these two watches. So let's start by the first category, which is value. Now this is quite interesting here in the value department. Let's start with the Seamaster. It's definitely a lot of watch for the money. You're getting a watch from a very famous company that most people in the world knows about. You're getting a very high quality, well finished and well spec'd watch. But the reason as to why I did not give this watch a 10 or even a 9 for that matter is because its retail price of $4,400 is a little bit on the expensive side. However, I do have to say that most people are never going to actually pay that price, because even if you go into an authorized dealer, they are going to give you maybe a couple $100s off. And if you go into the gray market, which I did, you're gonna get this watch for $2,700 or so, brand spanking new with a legitimate certificate, stamped and everything. Now that is a lot of watch for the money. But as I said, the reason as to why this did not get a higher score is just for the fact that its retail price is a bit on the expensive side. Now, interestingly, the Marc & Sons got a very high score of 9, and that is because, well, this is a lot of watch for the money. This watch is $400, and for $400, you're getting a bunch. We have a full stainless steel watch with a ceramic bezel, which also has room in it. You're getting 300 meters of water resistance. You have a sapphire glass here with AR coating on it. You have an automatic self-winding movement and everything. It has a lot of the traits that I appreciate on my Omega, but for basically a tenth of the price, which is very, very interesting. Now let's move on with the next one, being design. And here we see quite a big difference between the two. The Omega is really fantastic in this regard, and I gave it a 9. It's super recognizable. It's such an icon in the diving department of watches. It's beautifully finished and everything is just done so impeccably well. We have some very nice detailing, like this case back with the detailing here. We just see a lot of attention to detail here. Now I gave the Marc & Sons a 6 because it's fine. It's a decent looking watch. It's quite modern with a touch of orange here. It's big, it's chunky, but many people like this type of badass and tough design. So I gave it a 6. But the reason as to why I did not give it a 10 or a higher score than 6 is because it's definitely by no means going to be a future classic or a future icon that we can look back to and appreciate. And there are a few things that I just don't like about the design of this watch, like for example the seconds hand, which in my opinion is too short. So it's not a future classic, but it's a decent looking watch right now, and that's why it got a 6. All right, let's move over to the next category, which is and this is really where you see a big difference between the two watches. I gave the Omega a very respectable 9. It's a heavily modified ETA 2892 movement. It's got the co-axial escapement, it's COSC certified. It's of course still an ETA movement, which makes it very easy to service. In terms of accuracy, my watch is averaging out at about +2 seconds per day, which is fantastic, and I'm super happy about that. So yeah, the movement, it's a great movement. Now I gave the Marc & Sons movement a 5. The movement in this watch is the Seiko NH35. It's a workhorse of a movement, it does the job. It's got hacking seconds, it has a date wheel. It's a decent, fine, and all around, decently performing movement. In my honest opinion, this watch is just not worth servicing. And that's why the movement only got a 5, because it's not worth servicing. But it did get a 5 because it's a good movement. All around a decent movement, just not exclusive by any means. But it fits in a watch like this, at this price point. Now for the next category, let's just refocus. We have prestige, and this is also a very, dividing factor here, where the SMPc gets a very high score of 9. Their Omega, everybody knows about Omega. They have a long history. They were founded in 1848. They have lots of achievements. They have icons like the Speedmaster, the Seamaster, and so that's why the SMPc gets a prestige score of 9. And then Marc & Sons a prestige score of 3. The next one is quality. The Omega, for the price, if you're paying either gray market or the 80 price, is just a phenomenally made watch. It's well made in every regard. It's 300 meters water resistant, it's durable, it's tough, it can take hits, and at the same time it's beautifully made. The quality of the finishing is exquisite. Everything is just so impeccably well made. And also things like, for example, the quality control definitely plays a big role in this as well. For example, the ceramic bezel, it aligns perfectly. As you can see, there is no wiggling going on. It's a very solid timepiece, and there's just no way that I can fault this watch in terms of quality. The Marc & Sons is also a very high quality watch, but not in a sense that it's well finished and all that. Instead, it's a high quality watch because it's big, it's tough, it can take a beating. It's 300 meters water resistant, it's got sapphire, ceramic, everything that you would want. It's just the quality control that's not on par with the SMPc. Like for example the bezel here, it wiggles a lot, it's not that secure. The finishing isn't all that interesting or well made, and that's why it does not get a higher score than 8, which is still very respectable, and this watch deserves it. Okay, next up we have style, and here the Omega SMPc gets a score of 8. That's because it's stylish, and the reason as to why it did not get a higher score than 8 is because, well, it's not as stylish as maybe a Rolex Datejust, and that's because this is more of a tool watch. The Marc & Sons gets a score of 6, and that's because this is an outright tool watch. I would never wear this watch on any formal occasion, whereas you can do that with the SMPc. The SMPc can pull that off if you have to. The Marc & Sons, well, not really. Alright, let's get to the next point, which is versatility. Here, the Omega gets an 8. You can wear the Omega practically however you want. You can wear it on a NATO band, as I have here. You can wear it on a leather canvas band, or maybe a vintage styled leather band, or of course you can also wear it on the bracelet. The only strap I would not wear my Omega on, probably something like a very glossy, like a crocodile strap or something like that. That's a little bit too much on the dressy side for this watch, but it can practically pull off everything else. The Marc & Sons, not really. This is a watch that, in my opinion, has to be worn on either its bracelet or on a NATO strap like this one, or maybe if you want to go a little bit more bold, you can wear it on this carbon fiber strap or something like that. That works, but I would not wear this watch on any type of leather band because that just doesn't fit this watch, and so it isn't that versatile. And that's why it gets a 5 in terms of versatility. Now, for performance, the SMPc gets a score of 10, and that is because it performs incredibly well. My particular watch is doing about plus 2 seconds per day, and so that's why it gets a 10. It's got perfect accuracy for a watch in this price point. It gets a 6 because it does gain about 10 seconds per day, but if you had put in a very high quality quartz movement in this watch, you'd probably be looking at around plus or minus 10 to 20 seconds per year instead. And I think a quartz movement in this price range of a watch is a more reasonable way to go. So for the next category, we have durability, and here the Omega gets a 9 and the Marc & Sons gets an 8. And why is that? In terms of the outer portions of these watches, I think they have about the same level of durability. However, when it comes to the movement, I think the Omega SMPc has some better shock protection and things like that to protect it from breaking when you maybe bump it into something or drop it. Whereas I don't think the Marc & Sons has the same level of protection for the movement. Okay, so for the last and final category, we have X Factor, and here, as you guys would probably have expected, the Omega gets a big leap with a score of 9, and that is because, well, Omega is a watch brand that practically everybody knows about, and Marc & Sons not that much. The only reason as to why the Omega does not get a 10 is because it's not that much of an icon as maybe the Rolex Submariner is, so it's not quite on that level yet, but it definitely gets a very high 9. The Marc & Sons gets a 4, and those 4 points do not come from the brand name or anything like that. Those 4 points come from its design and toughness. It really just looks the business, right? It looks like a nice, diving watch, and so it gets a 4 because it does have some kind of X factor to it, because people will recognize that it is a diving watch. It's a tough watch. It's a very popular genre of watches, and so people will probably recognize that this is a diver, and so it gets some sort of X factor there. So in total, the Omega SMPc gets a score of 89, whereas the Marc & Sons gets a score of 60. And that is definitely expected. The SMPc is 10 times the price of this watch, and you would expect it to be a lot better. But it's definitely not like comparing a Casio F91W to the Omega. This watch does stand its ground pretty well. Yeah, it's just an all-round good timepiece for the price, and so is the SMPc. And that's why I bought this watch. It's a great watch, and I love both of these watches. They are just very different. Let me know what you guys think about these two watches and my comparison in the comment section down below. And if you have some different thoughts, please do feel free to share those in the comment section down below. Please also feel free to like this video, subscribe if you enjoyed it, and I will see you in my next video. Peace.